You're listening to the Geek Watch Podcast, Episode 28, Country Roads and the Existential Horror of Hereditary.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 28 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello.
So, this has been a very interesting week. It's
Yes.
been full of speculation because there's been a couple things that have been going on this week. The first, of course, being E3. So all the new video game stuff is coming out now, and there's a lot of excitement and a lot of speculation that's going on. We're seeing a lot of teaser trailers for different things. The new Spider-Man video game that's out, I got a chance to see the trailer for that, and that looks really amazing. Of course, E3 always reminds me why it is I don't play a lot of video games, because that would be all that I did. But there's the Spider-Man game definitely has that Arkham Asylum feel to it.
Oh.
Of course, you have a large world to play in, but it has a very strong story. So I think Spider-Man is going to be the Marvel equivalent to Batman Arkham Asylum, that series.
How do you think the cosplayers will look to it for the Marvel side? Because that really, Arkham Asylum was one of the times when Harley Quinn really blew up and hit the cosplay.
Oh, yeah, because that version of Harley was different than what we were used to in the comic. And so, from what we've been able to see so far of gameplay, I mean, really, I don't think the cosplay side of it's going to really blow up until the game is officially released. People have a chance to see it. And, I mean, I think also it's just really going to depend on the character design, and if there's anything that cosplayers will want to pick up on, I'm sure there'll be something. Okay. But, I mean, the Spider-Man costume looks a little bit different, but it's not a huge departure. But I can see some people maybe cosplaying that, perhaps. But, again, once we see the game, I guess we'll be able to tell. But there's like a bunch of stuff. I mean, we could sit here for 2 hours and talk about everything that's going on in E3 at this point. But one thing I definitely wanted to bring up, because it's really got people excited in our neck of the woods, this new Fallout 76.
Oh my gosh, Brian. The internet blew up in West Virginia.
Oh, yes.
It started raining pepperoni rolls and coal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the state pride just went through the roof, and everyone's so excited. They see Mothman, they see the New River Gorge Bridge, they see the Gold Dome, and everyone's so excited. And I am not a gamer, but I am kind of excited about this. And what I'm looking forward to is I really hope that they do a novelization, because I read the BioShock novel, and I don't even play games, and I loved it. It was amazing, and I was really excited, and I hope something along those lines happens for this particular game.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's really cool about Fallout 76 is you got this teaser trailer, and of course you hear "Take Me Home, Country Roads," and it's like, is this going to take place in West Virginia? And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, but I figure this is an apocalypse game. You're just going to have hills and blasted out trees. I mean, that's about the extent of it. I mean, they'll say it takes place in West Virginia, but then Silent Hill took place in West Virginia, the movie. But it could really have taken place
Timber Falls and Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it could have taken place anywhere. They just happened to say it took place in West Virginia. And so I wasn't altogether excited about this. I thought, well, it's just kind of neat that West Virginia will be sort of in the gamer consciousness, and that's fine. But then we started to see more of the game, and I was shocked, because it's not just, well, this takes place in West Virginia. There are some serious deep cuts when it comes to location.
Not only are big landmarks, but small things. And we do talk about, Mothman.
Right.
And it is, I mean, we do have a very rich mythic history, behind our state. The bunker, and that seems to be like the bunker is going to be a big part of it. And that's under the Greenbrier Hotel, originally designed to house Congress in an emergency state.
Exactly.
It no longer serves that purpose. Am I correct?
That's correct.
I thought so.
Yes, because the fact that we know about the bunker declassified once they decided to move it somewhere else. But yeah, when I heard about Fallout 76 taking place in West Virginia, I said, well, it'd be neat if the Greenbrier had something to do with it, because that's what the bunker in the Greenbrier was created for. But I'm like, well, no one's really going to know about that, and that's really not going to enter into the game. But it did, and that shocked me. And like you said, West Virginia has this serious cryptozoology side to it. And the Mothman is going to be a part of it. It looks like the Braxton County Monster is going to be involved in it.
I missed that. Oh, yeah. Braxty. Fun.
Yeah, and it looks like some other stuff that is going to enter into it. And I saw a clip of Camden Park, and I was like, oh my God, that shocked me. I'm like, that's kind of a deep cut.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get in the haunted house, and the Big Dipper will be a big part of it. But I'm really looking forward. I think that'll be a big thing to happen for our tourism, because there is a Mothman Festival.
Right.
There is Braxton County, it's not the Braxton County Festival, but there are Braxton County Monster celebrations in Flatwoods.
And it has been really entertaining to go on YouTube and see some guy from Australia posting a video about Fallout 76 and doing so what's this West Virginia thing all about anyway? And this is from this thing and this is from this thing. But there's like a lot of stuff from West Virginia that's winding up in the game, like the Moundsville Prison, the Insane Asylum, Weston Insane Asylum, and whoever decided to put all this together, apparently they definitely did their research.
Or they had a consultant team here or something. Yeah, they did a great job, and everything it's immediately recognizable to us.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've got some pretty good memes out of this, Brian.
Yes,
I have enjoyed the memes from this. One thing was the accuracy of the roads, the conditions of the roads,
because the roads are all chewed up, and it's like, but yeah,
awful.
that's pretty much
that's
the way
our roads. Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird, because it's a matter of, are you flattered that they're bringing this to West Virginia, or are you a little bit like, well, I guess they saw West Virginia and said this would be a great place for an apocalypse. So
I've kind of always said that. If the zombies come, we have a lot of creeks, we have a lot of hills. It would be difficult for the zombies to transverse around, and it'd be difficult for them to build up numbers in one place or another. The hollers, and you could hide, and you could build a lot of fences, and this would be a good place if the zombies attack.
Oh, yeah, and what's really interesting about Fallout 76 is that because West Virginia has more of a variety than I think maybe people from the outside realize, that allows a lot of different kind of gameplay, because all the different areas, different monsters, different gameplay. The map for this game is 4 times bigger than the last one. And so there's a lot of different kinds of gameplay. And it looks like from the trailer that they're even going to bring in a coal mine that's been caught on fire. And as we know about coal fires, those things tend to last for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that the basis of Silent Hill? The video game, wasn't the town is on fire underneath it?
Yes.
Which is in Pennsylvania, the real one.
Right. And so they did that same sort of a setup, it looks like, according to the trailer. And one of the things that they're introducing in this game is apparently there are a handful of nuclear silos that are littered over the map, and that if you get the proper launch codes, you can basically launch a nuke anywhere on the map that you want.
Huh.
And it becomes part of gameplay, one, because you can destroy a rival team, but also there are certain things like at the Capitol complex that if you nuke Charleston, that you can obtain certain things because of the blast and the irradiation. You're able to get certain things that you wouldn't normally be able to get, and that launching,
be like our water crisis in 2014.
Perhaps so. So that's been introduced to the game, and so
now, Brian, I don't play video games, but there have been a couple of people who, finding out that it's a multiplayer game, they didn't like that fact. So I don't know, what difference does that make in your entertainment factor?
Well, I will say this. Where most people have problems with multiplayer games is you wind up getting a very crowded field. In other words, you're running into people and you don't really get a chance to explore because people are shooting at you all the time, which Bethesda answered that saying, this is an apocalypse, this is not an amusement park. So tons and tons of people running around would not be the mood of the game. So they have dedicated servers, but they limit how many people can be on a map at one time. And so there's enough that you can divide up into teams, but you're not going to be running into people all the time. But also, they're worried about what's known as microtransactions. Microtransactions are the ability to purchase advanced weapons, gear in the game. In other words, you use real money. And you buy certain things. And that can wreck a game because what happens is you get some rich 14-year-old, his parents have a bunch of money. They go in, they buy everything that they can get. And so you're trying to play this game and you're wanting to basically, as they say in gaming, you want to grind and earn the stuff, but you never get a chance to because here's this kid that's jacked up on all this equipment and they just keep shooting and killing you because they have advanced armor and weaponry because they just spent a few $100s to buy all this stuff.
I've heard cheat coding. I again don't do video games, but cheat codes or earn it. That was the mentality.
Yeah, something like that. To get away from the rules, basically. To do what you want to do without having to play by the rules of the game. Hacking is a problem in a lot of online games. And as of right now, as I understand, there's a sign up now that you can play the game in a beta. A beta test is the game's not fully released yet, but you can sign up to do a beta where you can play the game, and whenever you run into a bug, you let them know so that they can fix it. So it's basically when a game goes into beta, it allows some gamers a chance to actually play the game, and you can test and test and test, but until you get a bunch of people in there, it's only then that you really know what needs to be done. And so it's going to be going into beta really soon. And the game should fully release in November. Like I said, I don't play a lot of video games because I enjoy them too much. And I wouldn't get a chance to do a whole lot of other things that I have on my plate because of that. But it would be really interesting to see it blow up on Twitch and it become a very popular game. And again, because it really will encourage people to maybe know a little bit more about West Virginia.
That we're our own state.
Yeah, there's just a lot to be said about the research and the care that's been taken in getting West Virginia right in this game, which surprised me. As I said, I figured it would be just basically a tertiary concept.
Trees and hills.
And that'd be about it.
And mutants.
But apparently they put in a lot more work into it, and it'll be interesting to see what other kinds of Easter eggs that natives like you and I will see in the game. But I'm looking forward to that. And so E3, of course, I think is still going on at this point, so there's a lot more news coming out, but they're really pushing to get the attention because gaming with Twitch now has become so much more popular that it's become really important to be that top game that all the Twitch players are playing because players like Ninja are getting these hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of views on these videos. And so the social platforms have become a bigger deal when it comes to playing video games. And it's really changing the way that games are played and what people are interested in. And so obviously the companies they're really pushing in E3. I'm sure there's going to be some other things to break the internet as E3 goes on. But the other thing is Cinema Europe, the big convention that's in Spain, and there's been a lot of movie news that's been coming out from there. Specifically some trailers like the new Dumbo trailer.
Yes, I've seen the Dumbo trailer.
The live-action Dumbo trailer,
yeah.
And so, get ready to cry.
Yeah, seriously. And I was surprised that that's a Tim Burton film. So he's getting his Disney on again. And of the movies that they could pick, I'm surprised at Dumbo because I would look to him doing maybe a Pinocchio or something. But it looks good. Everything looks good about it. And
yeah, for me, it's kind of a return to form because, of course, his first movie that people know him for was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's kind of in his wheelhouse. He's kind of going back to a certain thing, although, again, this is Dumbo, so it can, in a sense, it can be a little bit depressing. But
yeah. And spooky and racist at times. We have the racist crows, and we have the very spooky drunken scene with the pink elephants. Ooh, oh yeah, that still kind of gives me chills.
I don't know how much of that's going to wind up in the film, but we'll see. Disney right now, they've done pretty well when it's on their live action version of their movies. It seems like they just have this real interest in pulling out every animated thing that they've done. And doing a live action version of it. And so
they've kind of stopped letting the anthropomorphic problem get in their way now with live action. They wouldn't have done Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
Because animating cutlery in the real life was a difficult thing. So, Cinderella was not necessarily easier a film to make, but it made more sense to do in live action. But then you start bringing in your Beauty and the Beast, and now we've got Dumbo. There's a lot more human characters than were in the original. But then next we've got coming out is Lion King, where it's quote unquote live action because it's mostly CGI, but that is going to be, no humans, and I just see that's going to look amazing.
Well, I mean, after seeing their take on the Jungle Book, where you have this young man who's the actor, who was the only real thing in the entire movie, the animals, the jungle, everything around him was all green screened, and you couldn't tell. You absolutely couldn't tell, and it was amazing.
Seamless. Yes.
Yeah. And so, CGI has gotten to a place now where you can do just about anything you can imagine.
Just about anything, yeah.
And so that looks like that's going to be amazing, what they're going to be able to do with Dumbo. That one scene where they pull the hay back and you start to see little bits of Dumbo. And
his ears pull back, and the ears were the big part of it. And
literally and figuratively.
Yes. I remember them talking about Aslan and all the individual hairs in his mane to animate them and how long that took. I figure the ears on Dumbo should have taken the most time.
Well, it took a while to render.
We will have to see.
Yeah.
See, growing up, I remember Dumbo's Circus, which was all puppetry. And that felt really real as a child, seeing that. So seeing this, it's going to be very retro, very nostalgic.
Yeah. Something else that came out of Cine Europe is apparently they showed a teaser trailer for Aquaman.
Really?
Which is not out anywhere yet where you can see it. There's people talking about it.
How'd they do that? How did they manage to hide that?
Well, apparently in Spain and in Europe in general, they're a little more reserved when it comes to spoilers. There's not
no one snuck a phone in there.
No, but apparently they don't do that kind of thing. It's not like at Comic-Con where you guarantee somebody posts a teaser trailer, it'll be on the internet in 10 minutes. But however, whatever they managed to do, they've managed to keep a lid on it. And so people have been talking about it, but supposedly the trailer they were going to release it soon. I would have thought they would have by now, but as far as I can tell, it's not out anywhere yet officially. But you got to figure that they're going to post something soon. Although I do have to say that when they're releasing it, it just seems like it's going to be a crowded field, and I don't know how well that's going to work out for Aquaman. But you got Aquaman coming up, you got Shazam coming up, and then Wonder Woman 84, and Patty Jenkins on Twitter released a couple pictures, and the internet exploded. The internet broke when we saw Steve Trevor again. And it's like, oh, okay, they're going to go that route like the TV show where a couple of seasons took place in World War II and then they go to modern time and Steve Trevor, in a sense, kind of follows them, although he's not the same Steve Trevor. So there's a lot of speculation going on about who this Steve Trevor is, if he's the same one, is he a time traveler, is he a descendant of the original Steve Trevor? Okay. I'm certain that Wonder Woman will definitely want to know who the heck is this guy.
Yeah.
So the internet's already in speculation. There's been a lot of speculation going on movie-wise, and that's certainly piqued people's interest in wondering, okay, what's Patty Jenkins planning on doing?
Right.
And so the speculation has begun, and I mean, there's, when you don't have information, then you wind up speculating. Same thing that's been going on right now with Doctor Who. A ton of speculations going on there. There has been rumors, and trust me, this is grain of salt, kids, because there's nobody's saying anything about this. But the Chris Chibnall, who's now the showrunner, he wrote several episodes of Torchwood. And so there's been a lot of speculation they're going to bring Jack Harkness into Doctor Who, which would be awesome.
Yes.
But nobody's saying anything about it. Somebody was just kind of thinking about, hey, they've made this kind of connection. It makes sense that Jack Harkness will make an appearance because, of course, he definitely knows how to write that character because he's written reams for this character. But at the same time, nobody's saying anything. So there's no telling. And the other Doctor Who rumor that I heard was, we're talking about the World Cup, that there's going to be a Doctor Who trailer somewhere during the World Cup.
Okay, all right.
And again,
that's like the Super Bowl for everyone else that's not American, right?
Right. Yeah, but I guess they would say the real football. But there's really nothing to say that that's going to happen except that Stephen Moffat, he has released teaser trailers for Doctor Who during the World Cup. And so they're like, well, they're going to do it again this year, but nobody's saying anything. And I don't know if they are planning on doing it. I don't see why you don't tease that and let people know that you are going to do it, because
get more people out watching it.
Well, get more people excited about it. It's like that builds that excitement. That moment, it's like, oh my God, we're going to get a trailer in 2 weeks. We're going to, it's going to be awesome. And then people could be talking about it, and you get that. Not saying that you need to spoil what's going to happen in the trailer, because nobody wants spoilers. But there's nothing wrong with generating a little buzz about something that's coming up. But as of right now, the official word is nope, we're not doing anything. They may be lying about it, but again, I don't know if that's the best way to handle it, but
well, with the different trailers coming out, Brian, there was one that came out, and you had to help me out with it because I was having trouble with it, was the Halloween trailer.
Right.
And I was very confused because, I've grown up with these 30 years of canon that is now just getting cut down. We're not going to have Jamie. We're not going to have Josh Hartnett as Jamie Lee Curtis's kids or anything like that. So it's completely new universe, sort of.
Yeah. Basically what they're doing is the majority of the canon's been turned into canon fodder, basically. And the way that this new movie is going to come out is it's going to be the direct sequel to the first movie. In other words, that moment in one where Michael Myers is captured. So at that point, they're saying he's been in prison for 40 years or so. And the movie takes place as if all the other movies never happened. And so it's like a direct sequel / reboot. It's like a sequel reboot. And so the first movie will have happened. The rest of them, maybe they were like movies of the week or something, or movies based on a story, because they make a reference in the trailer about Laurie Strode was Michael Myers' sister. And in the trailer, of course, they kind of say, oh, no, that was just something that people were saying. It was one of those kind of rumors. And so their plan is to wipe out, don't worry about Halloween 2 all the way to H2O. None of that stuff happened. Of course, in H2O, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, that character dies in the movie. So none of that happened at all. So as we got this direct sequel, and I got to tell you, I am rather excited about it.
It does look really good.
It looks like a return to form. And I got to tell you, some theaters out there, they're going to have to run a double feature where you have the original Halloween followed by the new Halloween. I don't see a good reason not to do that, because those films are going to be like the new Halloween's a direct sequel to the old one. Watching the old one and getting your mind back into that world and then seeing the new one right after would just be amazing. And if they don't do it, I'm just going to pull out my Halloween Blu-ray and I'll watch it.
And then go to the theater.
So, yeah, if you guys don't want my money, that's fine. I'm still going to get what I want. And I have seen Halloween on the big screen.
Wow, that pumpkin glowing at the beginning must be really eerie.
It is. It definitely is. But I've always said that horror movies and comedies, you can get the DVD, that's fine, but it's just much better to watch it in the theaters than it is to watch it at home, because you get that energy of the crowd, which you just don't get that sitting at home by yourself. Especially horror movies, I love watching them in a theater with people. And speaking of that, a couple of movies that I saw this week, I did get a chance to see the big screen debut of Doctor Who, Genesis of the Daleks, which was amazing. And getting to see that with a lot of fans was just fantastic. There was a young lady there dressed as the Fourth Doctor who was handing people bags of jelly babies, which was great.
Wonderful.
And there was an interview with Tom Baker there, which, as I understand it, if I'm correct about this, it was a small part of a much larger interview that's going to be on the Season 1 Fourth Doctor Blu-ray that's going to be coming out soon. Is that there's going to be a longer interview that's going to go over a lot of other different things. But seeing that interview was just amazing. And as a big fan of the Fourth Doctor, seeing it on the big screen was awesome, although it does remind me how square the Doctor used to be. And by square, of course, I mean a 4:3 ratio.
Right, it was, to fit on a television.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun watching that episode again with a lot of Doctor Who fans. And to me, it was amazing how things have changed in the geek world, because back in the day when I was watching Doctor Who, when I was in high school, of course, I was watching those episodes on PBS, and I was probably the only person in the school that even watched Doctor Who. Maybe there were some other ones out there who caught the episodes, but they weren't telling anybody, and I wasn't talking to anybody because you couldn't really justify that you watched Doctor Who. It's like, oh, you watch that show that's on the same channel as Sesame Street? I mean, back in the day, the stuff that you were into, there wasn't a lot of people into it, and so you were kind of out on your own. And now Doctor Who is a little more popular. There's a lot of different ages that are into it. It's got more of a mainstream appeal like a lot of geek things do. And so that's awesome. And the other movie that I saw which I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about. I'm going to kind of do a review. I got to see Hereditary finally. And I mentioned to you last week I was a little concerned because there was so much hype on this movie that it's like, how do you, you know,
How do you live up to it?
And after seeing it, this is the kind of movie you can't really do a review on without giving away too much of it.
Okay.
I mean, you can do a thumbs up or thumbs down, and I have to say that I really enjoyed it, but it was a relentless, very unpleasant film to watch.
Oh, okay.
So I can't say that I enjoyed it, but I certainly appreciated it because I think specifically why this movie is so relentless. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of plot points because there's a lot of stuff that if I talk about it, I could spoil is huge, and I wouldn't want to do that for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But where a lot of plotting in horror movies happens, you have a lot of peaks and valleys. You build tension, you release tension. It's like any type of a story. You build tension, release. You know, you have that roller coaster, and the tension just increases every single time. But you have those moments of where you can kind of catch a breath, you know, and you have this release of tension. In Hereditary, you build tension, and then you sit in it for a while. It doesn't go away. You don't have that moment where the tension's released. You just kind of sit in it for a while until it becomes the new normal. And once it becomes the new normal, then the tension shoots up a little bit more. And so it's like you're winding this rubber band tighter and tighter and tighter. And there's really no release of tension until the credits roll.
Oh.
And so, I mean, your stomach pretty much stays in knots the entire time. Because it gets bad, it gets worse. I heard somebody describe it to misery porn. It's although in some cases it's a little bit worse. It is a Greek tragedy. It definitely is. Watching the movie is a catharsis, but I definitely have to say it's not pleasant, and not because it's overly gory or it's overly violent. It's unrelenting. It just racks up the tension and stays with it. And so it's just to the point where you're like, oh, God, this is miserable. Oh, God, that makes it worse. Oh, God, this is terrible. Oh, my God, no. God, no. How much worse can it get? Oh, that much worse. Oh, God, no.
Wow.
But I have to say, the one thing that I find interesting about this movie, and this is going to be something I think I'm going to have to think about for a while, and why hopefully, eventually, if you get a chance to watch this movie, definitely something I want to talk to you